Now, I just got back from the Tri-State Exotic Animal Expo in Moundsville, West Virginia at the old West Virginia State Penitentiary. It was an awesome show. We had a lot of fun and I brought back some really cool things. If you want to see everything that I got, make sure you're following me on Instagram because I'll be posting some videos and pictures there. But today I'm focused on these isopods that I picked up. Now, I bought these from PT Reptiles out of Ohio. He had an entire table set up with isopods. I talked to him a little bit in the previous video, so make sure you check that out.
I've been keeping for a very long time. I got about 150 varieties going. My favorite grouping is definitely Cubaris, and I've got a bunch of the different morphs of like Red Edge, and those are probably some of my neater ones.
And I'll put a link to that at the end of this video. But I came home with 3 different species of isopods, so I got my Tarantula cribs enclosures set up because they make great enclosures for most species of isopods. So today we'll be moving them from their temporary enclosure into these Tarantula cribs and hopefully getting some really cool shots because one of the species I'm super excited about. And up first, we've got the A. nasatum, and these are the jelly bean isopods. But these are a cool morph that are kind of local around here, but he's been working on breeding this specific color, and I think they turned out really nicely. So let's get them out of this little deli cup into their new home. Now, the way that I set up these enclosures is pretty simple. It's essentially how I do all my isopod setups. And I make sure to give them a moisture gradient. So one end of the enclosure is kind of damp. It's got sphagnum moss. I keep the substrate kind of damp. And then on the other end, I keep it dry. So there's a nice kind of gradient going from damp or moist to dry substrate. So they can, find anywhere in between that they're the most comfortable. Now, this may not work for every species of isopod, but the genus of isopods I'm setting up today, I've had other species and I've set them up like this and they've just exploded. They're doing really well. So I'm confident this is gonna work for these isopods in particular. But based on whatever species you have, it may need more airflow, less airflow, and I highly suggest you check out Aquarimax Pets. He's got a YouTube channel and he does a lot of informational videos on specific species of isopods and can give you some really in-depth care and husbandry information. And I'll put a link to his channel down below in the description. But let's open this up and see what we've got. There's a few hanging out right on top already. There's a really bright light here. Now for the substrate, I'm using a mix of Reptisoil as well as some Terra Sahara that I got from the Bio Dude. Just had some left over from my snake enclosures. But I really like that substrate because it's made for a bioactive enclosure. It's got a lot of pieces of wood and other things the isopods really like. Also doing some leaves, some cork bark, some sphagnum moss, and I think they're pretty much good to go. So let's get them moved into their new home. Now I got everybody out and I don't need to worry about adding springtails because there's already a good amount of springtails in this substrate. We're just gonna mix it around a little bit. And it looks like they're all different sizes in here. We got big ones, we got little ones. It's very cool. Now, the only thing I would warn you about when using these enclosures, especially the smaller ones, I think this is the Tarantula cribs terrestrial small, is that the holes here on the side, the ventilation holes are a little low. So if you have this filled up anywhere more than halfway, there is a possibility that those isopods, especially the very young, the very small ones, the magni or whatever they are, it might be able to squeeze through there. I kind of doubt it, but when they're really tiny, there's always that possibility. So make sure you keep any cork bark or sphagnum moss or anything off the sides so they don't have that ability. They can't climb the acrylic. If the ground is going straight up to the hole, if it's level, they may be able to squeeze out, which is not like the worst thing in the world. You just have isopods in your house. Put in some dry leaves. And we'll just spritz down one side of the enclosure. And we'll need to make a label for that, so we'll just set it right over here. Up next is another species of isopod. It's actually, I have this species. It's the A. maculatum, the zebra isopods, but these are high white zebras, so they're a little bit different, a different kind of morph. They got a lot more white in their coloration. And instead of being black and white, they almost have kind of a white and chocolate brown color. But they're definitely not black. When you look at them real close, it's almost more of a brown coloration. So they're different. They're pretty cool, and they thrive. So let's get them set up in their new home. And again, it looks like we got a good mixture of adults and young, so there's all different stages of life in here. Hopefully they'll start moving around again. All right, now I'll just drop in the cork bark and the leaves. Give them a little something to eat and somewhere to hide. I'll feed them tonight. I'll just spray down a little bit. And this is the species I am the most excited about. If you've seen some of my past isopod videos, I think the first species I really got that thrived were the Armadillidium Klugii Montenegro. They're these clown isopods. They're beautiful blues and reds and yellows. And I even brought some with me to the meetup I had in Virginia Beach. Probably 100, 150 of them broken up into like colonies of 10 and, sold them, gave them away. People seemed really excited about them. They're probably some of my favorite isopods out there. Not the most expensive or the rarest, but I just love the way they look and the way they're always out on display and moving around a lot. But while I was talking to this guy, he had orange Montenegro clown isopods. They were pretty expensive. They were 180 bucks. Like, he didn't know who I was. I didn't tell him who I was until like after I'd already bought them for him. But since I was getting multiple species, he kind of gave me a deal on them, which was very kind. But these things are beautiful. I can't wait for you to see them. So let's check these guys out. Well, they don't seem to like the bright light, so they're all burrowing. Hopefully we'll see them when we get them moved over. Now this is the medium Tarantula cribs terrestrial enclosure. It's got that sliding lock. Now on this design, for whatever reason, I guess it's just because of the size of the holes and how deep it is, but the holes are much higher up in relation to the height of the enclosure, so you don't have to worry so much about them escaping, but the holes are even bigger, so it's even more imperative in this enclosure, even if you go with the large terrestrial enclosure, just to make sure you don't have the substrate or the cork bark or anything right up against those holes, because the small ones will be able to squeeze out that ventilation. But I've got everything already set up in here. I'm just going to remove a few things because I'm just going to dump the substrate in there since it's already, they're accustomed to that substrate. There might be little babies in there I don't want to miss. And there's also springtails, so I don't have to worry about that either. All right, so here we go. Looks like they're all curled up in balls right now. It probably was not the best way to move them around, but hopefully they'll start crawling soon so we can get some additional footage. All right, so now I'm just gonna put the cork bark back in there. Drop in some leaves. Now I'm gonna let them settle in for a little bit. Maybe tonight or tomorrow, I will feed them and get some more footage. But I'm very excited, and if you want to stay updated on my isopod colonies, just drop a comment down below. Let me know that's something you'd like to see, and I'll be sure to make some more videos about these isopods in the future. Now, if you want to see the video of the expo where I picked up these isopods, I will put that right there. As always, I appreciate you watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for buying Tarantula Collective merchandise, and I will see you next Tuesday.